Of course.
Stand still!
Okay, that was dangerous. Who are these people? Bleak Reaper, Bleak Commander. Spirit residue. Faint ethereal wisps of soul energy made manifest. So these guys are spirits. Not real. I mean, not a corporeal creature. Lionhide. Lions were once a common sight on the plains east and south of Glenfath's great forests. But colonization in the eastern reach has pushed the great cats back to the relative safety of the territory between Glenfathan and the Yerwoodan communities. In addition to their great power, lions are known for their roar, a terrifying sound that can strike fear even into the hearts of the bravest kith. Why is this lion mingling with spirits?
Of course.
This hunting hatchet has a leather-wrapped wooden handle and a silvered blade covered in finely etched flames. When the blade is coated in the blood of prey or an opponent, the etchings glow a fiery gold roaring to life. Even at rest, the hatchet smells faintly of smoke and charred flesh. Hearth harvest. Waves are roughly chiseled in the stone. They grasp at Ondra's beloved moon like curling fingers. Idle One Bridge. Jali and Imathi. So supposedly characters with golden frames are Becker characters with Becker story. As you near, you feel a vibrant history containing the essence of this woman's soul. Voices from its past seem to call out to you. Reach out for the soul. Okay, so this is supposed to be Becker's story, from a Becker character. To be honest, I'm not interested in Becker characters, neither for their Becker stories. A sparrow's nest is tucked between two angled slats. Searing Falls.
Ready, Watcher.
I shall.
Wine dregs swirl around the bottom of the clay jar. Whose wagon is that? And why is the owner leaving the wagon here? Does it belong to the dead guy near that stone where we fought the lions? Stormwall Gorge. This must be also Becker messages. Not interested. The bones feel as hard as stone, yet surprisingly light. Field mice scatter, crawling between the beast's teeth. Trees and shrubs have grown up around these ancient bones, shrouding this monument to Gala wine beneath their leaves. The people that ambushed our caravan. Arismital recognized them as the fangs of Gala wine. Or was it Kalisha who recognized them? Or perhaps both? I don't really remember. Bandit leader, what? Who's this? Blazes, Willem, you useless bastardo. Get him, we'll add his gear to the pile. Greasy chicken bones rattle around the bottom of this crate. Someone carved the initials TRS into the log. Shipment crate. This better than heavy crate has been pried open at one corner, but its contents remain within. There is a painted hammer and anvil on the side of it, alongside the words Black Hammer Smithery. Tattered note. I need you to deliver our haul from Kurn to sell. He will not speak to you unless you know the words Yechniabeon Ailed Feon. Is only found in the gift after dark. The gift after dark. Shrine of Galawine. Banditos Camp. Bambi, don't run. Bambi and her mother. Good to see them. These overturned cart bristles with crossbow bolts. Bloodstains darken the cracked wooden slats. Is this the work of the banditos? A spare bedroll is laid out in this tent, but there is no other sign of kith. Dead adventurers. Destroyed cart.
That's it!
Why are there dead adventurers here? Is it just bad luck?
I? Yes? Of course.
These skeletons, they look like they possess wings. Dragons. Magran's Fork.
Attack!
Ruined house. Well, Mara. Oh, hello there. Begging your pardon, but you gave me a good fright. I thought I heard something rustling through the brush. Suppose that was just you, silly of me. Don't suppose you happen to need some supplies. I thought I'd make my way over to Madamer Bridge, but I'm starting to think I'd be better off heading back to town and getting a few more folks together. Better safe than sorry, right? Say, did you hear something? What? Foelmar says, "By every star in the sky, thank you. I've never seen this beast so bold before. Strange times we're in. Here, take this. I'm headed back to Gilded Vale for certain, and you can make better use of them. Okay?" "Thanks again," says Fulmar. Your reflection warps and twists in the life-gleaming Adra. Kana says, "Do take care not to knock over those." I jest. Yeah, I wouldn't want to start a war. I remember, was it the ghost mother who said, Did a war happen because some special stone got knocked over? Was it the ghost mother? Or was it Meyerwald? I don't really remember. Fulvano's amulet. This amulet is said to have belonged to Fulvano. He was a man much taken with mild superstitions. And this talisman, he said, was a source of luck. It also served more sentimental purpose, for it depicts one of the great ships commonly seen at the docks of his homeland. Golden Obol. Rare coin even in the Vailian republics. The golden obol or double is a large gold coin. It is mostly used by the extremely wealthy. Chewed letter. This piece of parchment is torn and flecked with blood and troll spittle. What little of it remains reads, "Worried he may have come to harm. Once I reach Defiance Bay, I will hire guides to take me back west in safety, and see if we cannot find Fulvano. At present, I regret my eagerness to be away from Gilded Vale. It is very dark." So far there were 2 corpses we encountered that have something to do with Fulvano. Wait, what is that? I see a silhouette of a person walking. What the heck is that? He was walking towards the green stones. Ludrana says, there, that one, get that one. Who the heck is this? Ludrana's orders. It seems I have no choice but to provide you with instruction. Rydric's forces are spread thin, and the road through the wilds to the south of Gilded Vale lies unguarded. Given these favorable circumstances, I am sure that even you can manage to handle a peasant or two. The archers tell me that Kolsh men made south after their escape. If you should happen to retrieve one of their number, I may be convinced to forgive your previous mistakes. For the last time, you are to keep clear of Defiance Bay. Know that if you cannot be trusted to acquire a useful specimen, with even a modicum of discretion, I have no qualms whatsoever about using what materials I have at my disposal instead. Oh. Okay, so I remember Eder mentioned someone named Kolsh in relation to Rydric. Kolsh was resisting Rydric. Kolsh was resisting Rydric or something like that. And this old guy, or girl, whatever, sent this Ludrana woman to get a specimen. So this Ludrana thought that Arismital and his companions are part of Kolsh men. What do they need Kolschman for? As a specimen for what? An ode tells Ludrana to keep away from Defiance Bay. Why is that? Goldpact Paladin. I remember in the character creation, there was an info about the Goldpact Knights, or the Goldpact Paladin, whatever it is. If you choose your character to have a Paladin class, you can choose several Paladin orders. One of them is the Goldpact. So this O and this Ludrana, they hired the Goldpact Paladins. I don't think there's anything significant about this. According to the info about the Goldpact Paladins, they're strictly mercenaries. Their loyalty are on coins. Adra Formation, Shrine of Magran. "4 hours to Gilded Vale from Magran's Fork." Main keep construction completed. Western Barbican. The Western Barbican bars the passage of invaders coming across the Ischean River. NPCs with gold nameplates were designed by our backers. Yup. I'm not interested in them.
Greetings.
The innkeeper, Pasca, smiles broadly at you. "Hello again, come to rest your feet a while. I'd like a room, please." Pasca says, "Certainly, you're always welcome." The floorboards are sticky with spills that no one has bothered to clean. Villager says thought this place was going under after the owner left, but is held out. Wish we had some minstrels in here. Good to see new faces around. Feels like the village gets smaller by the day.
What?
Anyone seen Perley around? He's usually drinking his head off this hour of the day.
Indeed.
Some kind of brown slop is congealing in these dishes. It smells burnt.
Gods keep you.
Pasca, the innkeeper, smiles brightly at you. Hello again. Come to rest your feet a while. Arismital says, I'd like to know more about the Black Hound. Pasca says, really? Well, let me see. The actual building's been here for years, but the Black Hound's fairly new. We get a lot of new faces in here too, fewer than we used to, I'll admit. Tenfrist, the big draw, I'm sure he will get the big crowds back again in no time. I used to work the tables, actually, until the old owner up and left. Nobody's sure what happened to him. Even left his poor hound behind. As the name see, the Black Hound. It's still sitting upstairs, pining after him, poor old girl. Ah, poor dog. So why are some language call a dog a hound? Pasca says, place ended up in my hand somehow. She laughed. My very own inn. A lot of hard work involved, but it's been worth it so far. Please sit where you like. Would you like a drink or a room? We have two available at the moment. I'm afraid we can't offer much by way of a good meal today. Pasca sighs, unless you're fond of cold porridge. Okay, wait a second, I need to check on something. Arismital says, could I see what you have for sale? Pasca says, I'm sure you'll find something to your liking. We have the finest cook in Deerwood.
Hail, traveler.
Arismital says, I could use some reliable help. Do you know of anyone looking for work? Pasca says, Oh well, I wouldn't say I can speak from experience, but we do have certain sorts coming by looking for work from time to time. If you want to hire someone on, I'd be happy to send them your way. Arismital says, let me see what I have to work with. spoons hang by the fire, coated in brownish gunk. Tenfrith says, "Ah, it's you, Savior." He makes a sweeping gesture to indicate the kitchen around you. So good to be back. Do not think I will let this go unrewarded. I have decided that you have earned the right to learn one of my most closely guarded secrets, my dearest recipe. After this, you will eat nothing else. Gilded Veil Minor Positive. The party has gained a recipe, savory pie. Tenfrith says, "A savory pie to keep you hale and healthy. May it serve you well in your travels." Tenfrith says, "I will name a dish in your honor, perhaps a fine dessert." Tenfrith says, "Something exotic and a little dangerous. I'll need more wine." Villager says, "Nice and dry in here." The Black Hound Inn is a fine place to sit and have a smoke. Folk like you might do better in Defiance Bay. Decent folks like you don't fare too well in these parts. Did you hear the bells? Bad news, I think. You'd think these rains would be a boon for the crops. Feels like we've been seeing more bandits along the roads of late. Careful if you head east. Guards patrol the Eastern Wood, but not the Black Meadow. Poor Aufra is so worried about her child, I don't blame her. Used to have a lot more fortune tellers come through. Lord Rydrick had us chase them off. Orlan server says, "Don't think you can turn up and take my place. I had to work hard to get this job." I just carry the dishes. You'll want to talk to Pasca at the counter. There. Villager says, Tuatanu's one of the best smiths in the Deerwood, but his stock's been lousy lately. Drunkard says, "And who are you then? Another fool come to answer Rydrick's invitation?" Our great lord had my sister run out of town after the boy was born. She was the only family I had left. Not sure where she is now. Blazes, I need another drink. Okay, I'm sorry for your loss, drunkard. I hope your sister is safe, and her child as well. Drunkard says I should have left town years ago. Characters with gold frame. Becker characters. Yeah, not interested. Caruser says, "You think we ought to get ourselves read? Literate? No, like a soul reader, someone who can tell us where our souls got to, or they came to us here and now. Figure is like with any handsome lad in the pub. I don't much care to hear who's been lying with before me." Caruser says, "Grab a drink, friend. Not much else of worth in this town." Says the woman from Thane. Hey, we said we wouldn't mention Thane. Roaches scatter and flee under the crates. Caruser says, "Don't tell me the old man's sick. No. He rolled his plow on some big rock out in the middle of his field. Says he cannot sleep. Now, say he's hearing spirits, hearing them pour into his cups more like.
That's not nice.
All done.
Rammed behind the books is a drawing that shows Eothas and Lord Rydrick in a compromising position. What kind of compromising position? Show me the pictures. The Deerwood, Part 1, Early Colonial History. No other land has such a wild and bloody recent history, from colony to Palatinate to Free Republic. The Deerwood has undergone a trial by fire to emerge as a powerful force of the Eastern Reach. Deerwood's history actually begins in Idir in 2602 AI. Idir explorers return from a journey across the ocean with tales of the treasures they'd found. They discovered countless ruins scattered through the forests, as well as plains to the north of the trees that would be perfect for growing vorlas. There was a problem, however. The locals were hostile and there was potential for conflict. The fair Koning of Idir, fair Koning, first king, knew that this was too good an opportunity to pass up and sent more explorers to scout and map the area. Exploration continued over the next 20 years. Small groups of explorers traveled back and forth between Idir and this new world, with a handful of colonies setting up small camps to establish a base for the explorers to work out of. Conflicts with the local, who the Idirians learned are called the Glanfathans, were rare, but frequent enough for the Ferkoning to send a small squadron of guards to help protect his citizens. These guards established a central base on the river in the western section of the woods. This settlement would eventually become the city of Deerford, upon which the modern-day village of the same name is presently built. Once that base was established, the first permanent Idirian settlements began north and west of the Bile River. Over the next 3 years, thousands of Idirians made trek from Idir to this new land. The Glanfathans, who seemed to revere the ruins scattered through the forest, caused a few problems with some of the settlements, especially those founded near the ruins themselves. These were easily taken care of by the colonists with the help of the Imperial Guard. The Idirians, in order to further their foothold in the area, reduced the cost of production, and in an attempt to keep the Glanfathan population under control, started making slaves out of any Glanfathans captured during the uprisings. This resulted in a great increase in tension between the two groups. With the population of the area growing, an official governmental structure was established by the Ferkoning. He appointed several earls to preside over the land and assigned them thegns to help run their territories, and they called the new Grefram the Deerwood. Deerford remained the center for the Imperial Guard, but the settlement in Pearlwood Gulf, New Dunried, was the true seat of power for the area. Sitting at the edge of the ocean, forest, fertile farmland, and a river that runs from the coast to the White Marsh, settlers flocked to the area, hoping to establish names for themselves idea began to spread across the new land. "10 years of dawn. 10 years I tilted the Vorlas leaf, and 10 years I told myself that living in Saint Widewin's footsteps would bring me rebirth. Each dawn I'd pray that if thou art in darkness, he shall bring thee light, and each night would bring the same emptiness. For my decade of living as a simple dye farmer, all I have to show for it is a great deal of purple clothing. Eothas has not spoken to us since he appeared as Saint Widewin. It was my hope that Eothas would claim me as his next vessel, but alas, the Child of Light remains silent. Every day I practice the ritual of banishing the shadows of the unfaithful, and every day I work my fields in solitude, without sign of Eothas returning. If thou art in darkness, he shall bring thee light, but how long must I remain lost in this long night of abandonment? Is this my punishment for keeping my faith a secret? Is Eothas hiding from me until I shout my reverence for all to hear? Surely he must know that the dear Woodens now hate him and his followers. My countrymen are quick to blame all that was terrible about the Saints' War on those of us still faithful to Eothas. Should they not be angry at the Reatsera soldiers? Do the dear Woodens not realize that to dismiss the god of rebirth and redemption is to prevent all hope of healing? As I pen these words, I know that I must continue to till the dye leaf. I will awake each day with hope. If thou art in darkness, he shall bring me light. Each day I will pray that the dawn stars visit me, just as they visited Saint Widewin in his field of Vorlas. Will they come to me as they came to Saint Widewin, as men and to women, luminescent and perfect? I am told they come to presage new times. I am told many things, and I struggle to find the faith to believe it all. And yet each morning the sun rises in the eastern sky, and each morning Eothas illuminates my simple plot of land, casting away the shadows of the unfaithful in his golden gaze. I thank thee, Eothas, for all the springs I've had, and all that will come. I am in darkness, please bring me light.
I've got this. It's done.
Ingest says, please let me be. I am full to sickness with what I have seen of this place and its people. I am from Reatseras, true, but if I followed the scattered god yet, would I not have remained there with my family? Gods, to think I came all this way. May you meet with better fortune in Gilded Vale than I. These bones are covered in tiny bite marks. Black hound. This hound stares intently at the covered window, head cocked as if waiting to hear a particular sound. He looks up when you approach and whines a low note, tail wagging slightly. Arismital pets the dog. The dog's tail thumps happily against the floorboards. Arismital says, "Sorry girl, don't think he's coming back." The dog whines softly again, head tilting. Arismital said, "Well, you can come with me. Maybe we'll find him on the way." The dog's ears perk up. It trots over to you and barks happily. You have gained an item, Black Hound added to inventory. I see. Villager says, and then I told her that's not a pistol. Ha. So what is this? A penis joke? What should I do with a penis joke? It's not my cup of tea. I'm not interested in penis. Villager says, this ale tastes funny to you. Maybe it's piss ale? I don't know. Villager says, been thinking about joining family over in Deer Ford. They have it far better than us. Villager says, the cities where kith go for Sevev, not gold rot. The windows are clouded with a haze of accumulated smoke and cooking grease. The Black Hound Inn. Child says, I saw someone go into the temple. Papa says we're not supposed to. This temple used to be closed up. I used to climb on the big stones. Beneath the vines are crude carvings of a sun rising over 3 stars. A sun rising over 3 stars. Fwah! Becker. Priests are dedicated support spellcasters. Though their spells often have limited range, they almost blah blah blah. A rising sun and the 3 dawn stars, the symbol of Eothas. Okay, a rising sun and 3 stars, a symbol of Eothas. I see. Wirtan.
I haven't been in here for, must be 5-6 years. Used to be real nice. Bright. Warm.
Wirtan says, please help me here, and Eder was reminiscing. A man lies resting against the wall, lit by the dim illumination of the fading sconces. He has a gaunt, fox-like aspect and his face is pale and damp with sweat. One arm is held loosely against his side, sleeve soaked with blood. He gives you an anxious glance as you near, his features twisted with pain. Wirtan says, have a care if you mean to go in. He casts a quick look towards the doorway to his left. This place is not so empty as I thought. Wirtan angles a look up at Eder. Paying your respects, Euthasian. He manages a pained grin. A little risky, isn't it? Think what the townsfolk would say. Eder says, safer down here than up there, even with the rats as big as they are. A faint edge of hostility belies Eder's playful tone. So, what is the relationship between Eder and Wirtan? Why is there a faint edge of hostility? Wirtan says, this temple isn't what it used to be, probably for the best. Times being as they are. Wirtan groans and shifts position, wincing. I'm no looter, if that's what you're thinking. Not one of his types either. Wirtan jerks his chin toward Eder. Just wanted to do some good, I suppose. Got my arm clawed up for it. Wirtan regards you wearily. Maybe you'd have better luck. Arismital says, better luck with what? Wirtan points a finger upwards. These ruins around us used to be a temple of Eothas, the scattered god, a grand temple at that. A grand temple at that, his worshippers would come from all over the Deerwood, from Reatseras even. Eder says not so much from Reatseras these days. Wirtan says, until the war, of course, even then, you'd get some of the stubborn ones, the ones that couldn't get it through their heads that their god was dead and gone. Arismital says, Lord Raedric allowed them to worship. Wirtan says, Lord Raedric would clear out the place from time to time, make arrests. It wasn't until the legacy that he started, losing patience. He sent his guards in to put the priest to the sword, bring the place down, burn some of the books, and that was that. Wirtan looks away. Arismital asks, what's this legacy? Eder says, didn't the magistrate tell you? Deerwood's being punished for killing Eothas, or for not killing his followers too, depending on which idiot you believe. Either case, you don't see too many children around here born right. They come out and they don't cry and they don't look at their mothers. Got no soul in them to give them a personality. They just breathe. Wirtan eyes Eder wearily, as the man says, "The thinking is it's wide when having a last laugh. Strikes me a little petty, even for a dead god." Wirtan smiles thinly, but Lord Rydrick believes it. That's all that matters. Arismital says, "Get to the point." Wirtan says, "As you like." Once the legacy started, Lord Rydrick decided he'd been too lenient on the Eothasians. He had his people go in and put them all to the sword, left them down there, buried under a heap of rock. Heretics or not, their deaths didn't stop the legacy, didn't do much of anything at all. They didn't deserve to go like that, chopped down in their god's house. If you can get down there, find their remains, maybe we can finally give them a proper burial. Wirtan breathes out. No small task. There's a coin in it for you if you need motivating. Alot's cautious expression softens. A pleasant surprise to see that someone around here has a shred of respect for the dead. Arismital says, "They are long dead. What does it matter where they're buried?" Wirtan says, "It is about respect, isn't it? About deserving to be remembered, not just tossed under a pile of rock and forgotten." Wirtan breathes out shakily. "I thought it worth the effort, giving that to them." Arismital asks, "Wait, you want me to bring you some skeletons?" Wirtan says, "I'd bury them where they are if I could. I know it's a little macabre, but if we don't get them out now, Rydrick's liable to destroy whatever's left of them." Arismital says, "I take it you aren't supposed to be in here." Wirtan laughs bleakly. "Well, I meant to be in and out nice and quick. I'm not hurting anyone. It's just Lord Rydrick's forbidden anyone having anything to do with the scattered god. It'll be a little harder to explain to him than you." It's a good cause though, isn't it? And you could make some coin in the process." Arismital says, "I have some questions first." Wirtan says, "Yes." Arismital says, "Why cannot you do this yourself?" "Well, I tried, only got a short ways in before I got in over my head." Wirtan grimaces. "I haven't raised a blade in a long time. Turns out it isn't something you can just pick up again. But you look like you can handle yourself." Arismital asks, "Who are you anyway?" Wirtan offers you a weak grin. "Name's Wirtan. I've lived in Gilded Vale long enough to remember how grand it used to be." He shrugs and looks away. "I used to help the temple, sometimes bring supplies, that's all." Arismital asks, "Won't Lord Rydrick mind us digging around down there?" Wirtan says, "I wouldn't go telling him about it. Lingering in these places is no good for anyone. But you do this quick and quiet, and we can do right by those priests without raising a fuss." Arismital asks, "What's this legacy?" Okay, I've read this one. Arismital asks, "Any chance there's something down there worth a little more than some old bones?" Wirtan looks around. "Probably. Nobody's been through the place since it was sealed up. Well, apart from me. And I didn't touch anything. Any valuables in there, you get first crack at them. I only ask that you do this favor for me while you're at it." Arismital says, "I have no more questions." Wirtan nods. "Then what do you say?" Arismital says, "I'll find them." Wirtan says, Then by the flame, I owe you a good turn, but listen. The temple's been sealed off for so long. It's crawling with creatures, but if you get past them, the priests would have been down on the lower floor. They'll be there still if they're anywhere. Those priests had all kinds of secret chambers, switches in the walls, tricks, conces, that kind of thing. Keep an eye out and take care down there. I wouldn't want to have to send someone else after your remains. I'll wait here by the stairs and keep a lookout, maybe try to patch myself up some.
Well met, friend.
Wirtan nods at you in greeting, cradling his injured arm. You've returned, find anything? Arismital says, I'm still exploring the upper level, no sign of anything yet. Wirtan says, well, keep at it. I figured they're down in the lower reaches, for certain I'll be here.
Following your lead. It's good to be on the road again. A wanderlust is nothing rare in the people of Rawatai, but often I think myself alone in loving the land as much as the sea. What shall we see next, I wonder?
Kana says, it's good to be on the road again. A wanderlust is nothing rare in the people of Rawatai, but often I think myself alone in loving the land as much as the sea. What shall we see next, I wonder? Arismital asks, do you know anything about this place? Kana says, we are, as they say, off the map, off my map at least. I have no idea where we are, isn't it exciting? Arismital says, you're being hunted by the leaden key. Kana says, so it seems. It's all rather absurd. What harm could I possibly do them by finding this text? Perhaps they don't like Rawatai. Arismital asks, how did this all begin? Kana says, I ran into them in Idir, or rather, they sought me out. In Idir, there were many people who had observed the Engwithan ruins in the Deerwood, and I spent some time conferring with experts. In the libraries, I found accounts of sites in Examital, and it was there I traveled next. But just before that, I found myself approached by a woman in dark robes, who bade me abandon my studies for my own safety. Kana says, I ignored her, of course, but I began to have the sense after that of being followed. After all that, well, one ambush on the road I could call misfortune, but three. Arismital asks, who are these people? Kana says, I thought it only fair to delve into their activities in turn. I found word of a leaden key, but past that it was all ravings and superstitions. I might as well have gone around asking whether someone had ever seen a whale flying through the air. Some might well tell me yes, but the validity of their accounts is questionable. Aris says, you don't seem worried about this. Kana says, they haven't had much luck. The last one came up on me at the dig site and slipped on a muddy beam. I tried to catch him, reflex I should think, but he went right over the side and down 100 feet. I'm not really sure what he had in mind, but I doubt that was it. Arismital says I had other questions. Kana says, I'll ask all you like. A chanter's purpose lies in the telling of stories, mostly true stories at that. Arismital asks, what is this sacred book you're looking for?
The Tanvi Oratoa. It's not really a book. It's been passed down over the years in the form of a chant. I actually found it a little strange at first, seeing it set down in stone. It's not quite the same as a song of worship, though we have paeans to the gods as well. More a kind of moral guide. It gives us something to aspire to. The, model of a virtuous citizen of Rauatai.
Arismital asks, why look for it out here?
There have been arguments as to the chant's true interpretation. New translations even. But any rendition of it I find in the ruins of Engwith will predate those translations by 2,000 years. And finding it here also proves that we still have much to gain from trading with other cultures. I'd be lying if I said I'm not looking forward to seeing the look on everyone's faces when I get back. But in the long term, I just think that we can learn a lot from the Engwithians. A civilization like that is something to aspire to. A model for Rauatai as a whole, and not just its people. And I want to prove that all of this is worthwhile. Traveling, seeing the world for what it is. It's been so different from sitting in the Chanter Hall and studying books.
Arismital asks, you came all this way just to win an argument?
More or less. It wasn't a popular theory when I suggested it. The idea that we shared the Tanvi Oratoha with some older culture, I mean, doesn't mean it's not true. It doesn't help that my family is from the Deadfire Islands. If I had a copper pond for every chanter who suggested that it's just not in my nature to conquer. My siblings, my parents, they make up for it. They build walls and cannons and ships. I've tried to explain. It isn't that I think those things aren't necessary. But if Rauatai closes itself off from trade, turns on its own people over tradition, we will fall behind. And then we'll be the ones getting conquered. I think my father tries to understand at least.
Arismital asks, won't it have crumbled away by now?
Much of Ingwith's writing is lost to us, but an engraving would survive. I found several tablets at the site in Exametal. The scholar Gabranos, in particular, seems to have been fond of writing on the walls. I may have to ask you to help me carry it, if it's a large stone.
Kana laughs. Arismital says, so, describe this virtuous citizen.
Dutiful, learned, honest. The sticking point is loyal. Loyal to the people of Rauatai above all others. Fearless in their defense and bold in aspiration. Tireless in battle or industry. An inspiration to one's people.
Kana shrugs a shoulder, his broad smile fading.
But it seems it's not that far a leap from there to the idea that we must cast out foreign influences.
Arismital asks, is that what you aspire to be?
Doesn't everyone want to be a good citizen?
Kana looks away. Arismital asks, you think the Engwithans were the true authors?
I don't know that the distinction is necessarily important. Rauatai has a long history, and our people have come from many different places. It matters less who wrote it than that I have found pieces of the verses all around the world. Wherever it came from, it will be Rauatai that decides what becomes of it. All the races and peoples of our kingdom coming together to create a great empire.
So, I'm confused here. Kana says all the races and peoples of our kingdom. In the character creation, there was an info about Rauatai. I thought the information said that the Aumaua have driven the other races from the land, driven away the other races from Rauatai. If that's true, then how come there are other races and peoples In his kingdom, in Kana's kingdom. I'm confused.
You see then that I am loyal in my way.
Kana coughs, smiling sheepishly. Arismital says, sounds boring.
You'll see a few children nodding off in the middle, I grant you. But the chant is not something taken lightly, and two factions vie for the king's ear.
Kana smiles. Two factions vie for the king's ear.
We've been spared the civil wars and petty conflicts of our neighbors thus far. I'd rather it stay that way.
Kana's expression grows somber. Arismital says, I had other questions. Kana says, ask all you like. A chanter's purpose lies in the telling of stories, mostly true stories at that. Arismital says, tell me about Rawatai.
Ah, Rawatai. Shall I describe the pearl-white sands, the sapphire waters, the multi-hued tiles of the rooftops, like a mosaic upon the coast?
Kana chuckles. Kana says, was there something specific you wanted to know? Arismital says, tell me about the kingdom of Rawatai in general. Kana says, it's a long journey by ship to the north, past Examital and across the sea. We have settled much of the Gulf and established more recent trading colonies all along the coast. We live as best we can, like anyone else. Our land is plagued by storms, and so we stand together, whatever corner of Rawatai we hail from. Otherwise we'd never survive. Arismital says, tell me about the city you're from, Akoa. So, I don't think Kana mentioned about Takoa. How does Arismital know about this Takoa? How does he know that Kana comes from Takoa?
Takoa is doubly famed, a royal city and home to the Coral Harbor. The Ranganui's palace is there, and we've a fleet of royal ships sitting outside the Gate of Great Teeth. Every so often, you'll hear the roar of a cannon being tested.
Kana says, the finest ships in Rawatai, and so the world, are anchored there, and some of our brightest minds toil away at the artillery. My mother, for instance. Kana grins brightly. Myself, I have no talent with gunpowder. Takoa is also home to the Lore College, of course, and we get a great many people traveling long distances to speak with the Lore Keeper, or else hear the chants and peruse the books. At least, that's how it was when I was younger. Things were a little different when I left. Arismital asks, how so? Kana says, you might say the winds are changing. The Pahari, they are traditionalists. In a way, the Ranganui's son stands among their number. Talk at the dinner table has changed from how far a fleet Rawatai ship might sail, to how well defended our borders are, how far we have turned from the old ways. Then talk turns to Baring, Idiran and Vailian merchant ships, and Kana sighs. Things were difficult when I left. There was much arguing among the elders. I trust the king has kept the peace, but I worry sometimes that things have taken a turn for the worse. Arismital asks, you aren't a traditionalist? Kana says, oh, I'm a regular firebrand. If you ask the other chanters, I don't see why I can't appreciate our traditions and chart a better future, but so goes the debate.
Takoa is doubly...
Arismital says it sounds like you miss home. Kana says some parts of it, those silver cliffs, the sea, those at least no one can change. The day I boarded the ship for Idir, the sunrise was gold upon the water and I nearly leapt overboard and swam for home. Arismital asks, Takoa has a lot of this artillery. Kana says Rawatai has a lot of artillery. We've made great advances with explosives. One of our artillery masters advised on the Godhammer bomb during the Saints' War. Actually, in Rawatai itself our efforts are more modest. Bombards, cannons. We're having some luck with mortars. You might ask my sister if you ever visit Takoa. She captains the Ratu Hana. She knows far more than I do, and enjoys great fame for it. One of Rawatai's artillery masters advised on the Godhammer bomb during the Saints' War. Kana says, okay, wait a minute. The Saints' War is between Reatseras and Deerwood, right? So why would an artillery expert from Rawatai advises about a bomb in that war? Why is Rawatai involving themselves in this? For what reason? Kana says, it may not be very traditional, but even the most strident demagogue won't touch the subject of artillery. They'd lose what support they've gathered. Arismital asks, do only Aumaua live there? Kana says, far from it. The Aumaua arrived more recently and formed a greater number, but others have joined us, so long as they call themselves subjects of the Ranganui. Kana says, some of my neighbors are Orlans, for instance. Kana eyes you. They don't like the sea much, I've noticed. Ah, so there are Orlans in Rawatai. Arismital says, I quite enjoy the sea myself. Kana says, goes to show, no? Kana grins, everyone is different. Arismital says, people here say that the coastal Aumaua are a cruel people. Kana says, rule in the same manner that Orlans are feral and the pale elves graceful, yes? Kana chuckles. Aumaua conquered Rawatai long ago and drove their enemies from those lands in the doing of it. Today the great kingdom of Rawatai holds humans, Orlans, elves, even island Aumaua. Kana flashes a quick smile. So yeah, that means initially Rawatai, Aumaua, initially conquered Rawatai and drove the enemies, which includes the other races, I guess. But then Kana says today the great kingdom of Rawatai holds humans, Orlans, and elves. What about dwarves? Maybe there are no dwarves there. Kana says, what a campaign of conquest says about those responsible. You'll have to ask the Idirans. In any case, yes, the reputation persists. Good if you want fighting work, less so if you would like to be a cook. So Kana mentions Idirans. I'm guessing it refers to Idir history of colonizing Deerwood and perhaps other places. Was it Aloth who said something about Idir having... I don't remember what Aloth said in detail, but he said something along the lines of that Idir cannot shake off their past of having colonies or have colonized other places, something like that. Was it Aloth who said that when we first met in Gilded Vale? Arismital says, I had other questions. Arismital says, tell me about yourself.
What shall I tell? I am Kanarua, born in the royal city of Takoa, from which rules the Ranga Nui. There. That is a solemn enough start. I am a lore chanter in the college there. Or at least a student of lore and a chanter both.
Kana grins brightly. Arismital says, the accent's right, but you don't look like you're from Rawatai. Kana says, do I not? He grins crookedly. I take your meaning. My family is from the Deadfire Archipelago, but I've never seen the islands. My parents traveled to Rawatai many years before I was born. They found more opportunity in Rawatai. My mother took to crafting cannons, aspiring pirate that she is, and my father's work with coral caught the eye of someone important, and then the Ranganui himself. The rest followed. What would you like to know? Arismital asks, what's a Ranganui? Kana says, a king, our great king, ruler over all of Rawatai. He's led our people well and he has treated my family very well. My father and he are great friends, as much as one can be friends with a king. Interesting. Kana says, what would you like to know? Arismital asks, what is this gate of great teeth? Kana says, much as it sounds, a maze of walls like the teeth of some nautical terror. It sits outside the city and guards Takoa from invaders and storms. The storms have always been more trouble. Nui Tanri, the angry titans, throwing themselves against Rawatai's shores. Invaders I'm not so sure about, but perhaps I'm like the man who, being dry, throws off his rain cloak during a storm. Kana laughs. So my mother would have me believe. What would you like to know? Arismital says, tell me about the Lord Chanters. Kana says, my eldest brother thinks we spend our days in song weaving wreaths from flowers, but the truth is far less exciting than that. The college preserves what knowledge our people have gathered. I would have it said that the Lord Chanters are Rawatai, for without them, we would have no beginning, no sense of how far we've come. We would forget ourselves with every generation. I'm only a student yet, but someday I'll return and tell the keeper what I learned, and she will add my verses to the chant. What would you like to know? Arismital asks, what made you leave the college?
I was on the usual path at first. Theology, the traditions, when the Gate of Great Teeth was completed. It was all my father had hoped for, the greatest commission he had ever received. But it was also a sign that Rawatai was changing, looking inward. Meanwhile, I was neck-deep in the writing of a dozen nations, marveling at all the things that lay beyond our borders.
Kana says, and in so many of those books and records I found accounts of ancient Engwith. The Idirans hold a great hunger for Engwithan relics, and why shouldn't they? It was the civilization from which the Glanfathans learned to read souls. I decided that my third degree would be in history, and that I would study the Engwithans. They were at the heart of so much discussion abroad, so many discoveries. It drew some mockery, would watch Idir draw itself into several conflicts with the Glanfathans over these ruins. Takoa had its own concerns. And soon I found it, a section of the Tanvi Ora Toha, in an Idiran translation of ancient Engwithan script. Just there, without explanation, it seemed like a gift from the gods. Arismital asks, how are you holding up? Kana says, I'm ready if you are. Kana grins. Arismital says, let's be on our way.